Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I am doing Comic Uno episode 102, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. So let's get started. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week, and we have 17 comics this week, so it's kind of a normal amount. So let's get started. What was worst pick of the week this week? That was Harley Quinn, Powergirl, issue 1. For some reason, I just can never get into the series. I thought, hey, let me, re-pick up Harley Quinn, see what I'm missing. But with this issue, we get to see that Powergirl has amnesia, so she thinks she's, superhero, which she is. But her sidekick is Harley Quinn, and she's questioning, why is Harley Quinn my sidekick? Which I thought that was a cool dynamic. But mostly, it's, them in space, dealing with these space people who think that Powergirl was a robot, slash clone, which, she is from another universe, which I don't know which version of Powergirl this is. Is the Earth 2 version? I was a little uncertain about that. But yeah, I think it's very, crowded, the dialogue, so the jokes don't land as much because there's so much going on in the issue. And I'm not a big fan of, the cosmic stuff, and, I just wasn't feeling this issue. I just didn't really enjoy it. I liked, the chemistry between Harley and Powergirl, but it just wasn't enough for me to really enjoy the plot. So Harley Quinn, Powergirl issue 1 is a bit expensive at $3.99, and it just didn't grab me. So I probably won't get issue 2, but I'm glad I tried out issue 1. So I give Harley Quinn, Powergirl 2.5 stars, and that was number 17. So let's move on to number 16, which is Dr. Fate, issue 1. Yes, Dr. Fate. This is a series I kind of tried out on whim, and again, no books were really that horrible this week. So this actually got 3 stars. It wasn't a bad issue, but it didn't really grab me. You'll definitely hear that a lot, especially towards the bottom of the issue 1s I had. There's a lot of issue 1s that came out this week. But yeah, with Dr. Fate, I felt there wasn't a real grab. I thought it was interesting that finally Dr. Fate is actually a doctor. He's studying to be a doctor. But overall, I don't think they described the Dr. Fate mythos that much. The artwork's a bit on the abstract side, so it's a little hard to get used to. So yeah, it just didn't grab me, and I guess I'm not a really big fan of the magic stuff, so that's why it didn't really grab me. But I can see if you're a Dr. Fate fan, you might really enjoy this, but for me, it just, didn't grab me. So Dr. Fate issue 1 gets 3 stars, and now it's number 16. Alright, moving on to number 15, which is JLA issue 1. I was actually really looking forward to this because I like Brian Hitch's writing for the most part, and I like his artwork a lot, and artwork was really good. But the one thing you have to look at with this book, it is a $5.99 book, so that's going to be a big tell for here, if I'm going to get it or not, or if you guys are going to get it and how I'm going to review this book. It's a pretty lengthy book, I'll give it that, but it's a pretty generic story. I will say I have no idea where the timeline is for this book, because you get to see the original Justice League, like Hal Jordan. You get to see Bruce Wayne is still Batman, and the other Justice League members are not here. But what's the point of this book? If we have Justice League, do we need another Justice League book if it's the same characters? They're just kind of repeating stuff here. So saying that, then the plot has to be really interesting. And the plot was kind of generic. It's that, Superman's gonna die. Oh no, this is gonna happen. It'll ruin the world. It's like, how many times have we seen that? There wasn't any real twists and turns. No great character moments. It was kind of just generic. It was just there. I will give a couple more issues a try, but at the same, I don't know why we need another Justice League series. At least with Justice League United, it's different characters, so I understand why we have that book. But here, it's the same characters except less, and it doesn't fit with the actual other books going on because you still have the same suits for these characters. So I have no idea where the timeline is. So Justice League of America issue 1 gets 3 stars. I wasn't totally impressed. Alright, moving on to number 14, which is a book that's usually a bit higher because I've been really enjoying this miniseries, but it's just a lackluster issue. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad issue 4. Now, I've actually been really pleasantly surprised with this series, and I think issue 3 was really close to being on my top 5, but issue 4 doesn't really show a lot of our main character, and it's a little bit of a filler issue. I think it's more of our main character's father learning that why his daughter's doing the things he's doing, or she's doing without knowing that she's doing those things, but learning that he might not be doing the right thing with putting everyone in the Big Thunder Mountain, in the caves where it can fall and it's very dangerous. So he's learning that fact. But there's not a lot of progression here, especially with the main character. So I would say that's a disappointing part, but still good artwork, and it wasn't a bad issue, it just wasn't as good as the other issues have been. So Big Thunder Mountain Railroad issue 4 gets 3 stars. I think we're up to number 14 now. I mean number 13 now. Yes, number 13 is Revival, issue 30. Now this is another series that's definitely not as low as this is right now, but I thought this was a bit of a filler issue also. And also the artwork was a bit weird. It seemed different. Maybe it was the coloring. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it seemed different. And, you know, something I really love about the series is the artwork. So I was a little disappointed. It's not bad artwork, but it's different. I was like, no, I want the other artist. So hopefully it's just for this issue that was a filler artist. So I was a little upset with that. And also here, you know, with last issue is talking about the revivals going into a concentration camp. You would think you would focus on that. And M's not in a concentration camp. So I wanted to see more of a focus on M and how she felt about all of this. And really it's not a focus on that. It's about the community and how they're dealing with, you know, their mayor dying. But there's no emotional beats here. I just thought it's kind of a lackluster issue of Revival. And the ending, you know, didn't have the greatest cliffhanger. I'm trying to see what it was again. You get to see M, like, kind of beating up people, and that people, we're seeing kind of this cult rising up, going against the revivals. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a bit, maybe not on the filler issue, but more on the generic side of things. And I was looking for a bit more from Revival this week that I didn't get. The artwork was a little, you know, wasn't bad, but it was different. And they could have focused on a lot more other things than they did here. It was more on the boring side. So Revival issue 30 gets 3 stars, and hopefully issue 31 will be back on track. So moving on to number 12, which is Doomed, issue 1. And, you know, I got this book on whim also, and it wasn't horrible. I won't say there was an actual pull for this issue to get the next issue, but it wasn't a bad issue. We learned a bit about our main character, who's a college student. He wants to work at Star Labs. He's dreamed of it. And finally, when he works there, he gets contaminated and becomes this doomed character, which we don't really know much about, which I thought was disappointing. I wanted to learn more about what it means to be this doomed character, but we learned more about the actual main character and his story, which I guess is good, but, you know, his story wasn't that interesting. It was a bit on the generic side. I know I've been using that a lot, but there's a lot of generic stories this week, but I wish there was a bit more of a hook for this issue, and again, I would be repeating that a lot with these issue 1s, because there needs to be a hook to get issue 2, and there just wasn't for Doomed. But I will say, it was a lot better than I expected. The artwork was pretty good. So yeah, a lot better than I expected, but not enough for me to get issue 2. So Doomed issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 11? Yes, number 11, which is Wonder Woman, issue 41. Not a bad issue. I like the direction Wonder Woman's going, but the one thing about this series is so stagnant on my list. It's always in the middle. It's never lower than that. It's never higher. It's always a 3.5, and it just ends up always being that way. But I like this issue for the most part. It's a bit on the slower side, but it's Wonder Woman, balancing her life once again, trying to figure out what to do with Donna, but then finding out that there's an assassin against her, or she doesn't even find that out, we find that out, that there's an assassin wanting to become the god of war. And I thought that was very interesting. Still not a big fan of the coloring of this book. Maybe it's not the artwork. I think the coloring is just really dark. I want it to be a bit lighter. So that's one thing I've been saying about this book. But overall, I like the new costume and the way they did that in this issue. And it wasn't a bad issue. I enjoyed it. But again, it just can't get to that 4 stars for some reason. I want to see a good shocker with Wonder Woman. But it's a bit of a slower issue, but some good setup with this issue. So Wonder Woman issue 41 gets 3.5 stars. All right, moving on to number 10. Yes, number 10 is Black Canary, issue 1. And this issue was, pretty good. I do think it needs a bit more to introduce the other band members, because we see with this issue that the band members, need to learn martial arts, because, Black Canary is doing these shows, and there's always someone attacking her. And we find out it's not actually her. It's one of their band members, who's the guitarist, who's special for some reason. So now they're gonna, be their own superhero gang and try to defeat these villains and find out why they're going against their guitar player who doesn't really speak. So I thought it was a pretty good setup. It's a, little, it's interesting to get used to the artwork. It's a little hard to get used to the artwork, but once you do, I think it's an interesting story. But it's also hard because, this is very much in the vein of the New 52 character. I still miss the pre-New 52 character, but it references a lot about the New 52, and I do think Black Canary was utilized better in Batgirl. I liked her character a bit more there, but I think this book has a lot of potential, and I will get issue 2. So Black Canary issue 1 has potential, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Now's number 10. Moving on to number 9, which is another book with potential, and that's Runaways issue 1. I'm a huge Runaways fan, of the original Runaways fan, and when this was first announced, I was super excited for it. But then I found out that Molly Hayes was the only original Runaways, cast member. But then also I found out that Secret Wars is something totally different than we expected it to be. It's different worlds, and that's why they had to do it this way. And I thought this was an interesting setup. We get to see meet our main characters. We have Molly, Scar, I want to get all their names. I never pronounced his name right. Amadeus Show, Delphine Gorgon. We have Cloak and Dagger, Jubilee, Pixie, and Frostbite. And these are the characters that are introduced, and they hate each other in the beginning of the book, but they got to act as a team if they want to pass their final exam. And we find out that Valeria is behind all this. Now, the reason I gave this a 3.5 is because I think the coloring is a bit on the darker side, and the artwork is, a bit hard to get used to, but at the end of the issue, you definitely do. And I think this book has a lot of potential. I hope we get to see the chemistry between characters a bit more as the issues go on. But pretty cool issue. Molly Hayes was hilarious. I think the single characters were interesting enough, and it gave me enough to get the next issue. It was an interesting cliffhanger with Valeria, a cool twist with them having to work together, and I'm excited to find out why exactly they're going to be runaways and how they run away from the system of God Doom. So Runaways issue 1 gets 3.5 stars for me, and that's number 9. So we are moving on to number 8. Number 8 is Martian Manhunter issue 1. Now, this is a book that I was, relatively excited for. I was happy to see Martian Manhunter getting his own book. I thought this was a very solid start. We learn that Martian Manhunter is debating, am I hero, am I villain? And we see white Martians starting to pop up. So it was a really good way to set up the villain of this story arc or of the series, we don't know. And also our main character. In the New 52, John is not the hero that he was in the pre-New 52. He was in the Justice League for a while, but he wasn't trusted, so he got kicked out of the Justice League. So he's definitely more a mysterious character here than he was in the pre-New 52. Which I think is interesting. And also the artwork was really beautiful for the book. Even though I didn't love the cover, I was like, I don't know if I like the art. But the interior art is very different and really, really well done. So overall, I thought this was a very solid story. It sets up our main character well. It sets up the actual story very well. And I'm excited to see who exactly will be the White Martians. And maybe there'll be a chance of Miss Martian being introduced. That'd be pretty cool. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 7. Which is Grimm Fairy Tales, issue 111, which I read digitally. And this was a really good issue. I enjoyed this one a lot, because finally the Grimm Fairy Tales students are working together, and we get to see Haley and Ali. They become a couple, which was really cool. But then you have a cliffhanger of Haley getting stabbed, and also Natalie, she's dying on the corner. So there's a lot of twists and turns with this issue, with beautiful artwork as always with Grimm Fairy Tales, which I wish I could show you, but I don't have the physical copy. And just an interesting story of a Mad Hatter to try and destroy everybody. And you're seeing who do you trust, who do you not trust, but in the end, students trusting each other, and that's interesting development, because going back to issue 101, they didn't like each other. Now you get to see the unexpected couple of Haley and Ali, and just the unexpected group of friends with this issue, and I thought that was a really positive part of this arc. So hopefully Haley is alive by the next issue, but very cool issue. We get to see a very solid story here. So that's 4 stars for me, and that was number 7. So moving on to number 6, which is Fathom Blue, issue 1. I've not read Fathom in a really long time, and I haven't read Aspen in a long time either. I think the last series I read was Trisha Out of Water, and the reason I haven't really read Aspen is not that I don't love their, like their books, it's that I've always wanted to get into their books, but they're always on a different number. They don't have a lot of issue 1s. Now finally, Fathom is rebooting itself, and it reboots itself a lot, and I finally got it issue 1, and I thought this was a really good issue 1. It sets up a lot of cool things, and it's about the Blue, who humans do not like. They're hiding amongst the humans, and there's a government agency that captures them and it wants to use them. But then there's unexpected Blue people, like there's a lawyer who, I don't know if she's a character from the Aspen universe, but I want to learn because I think she was really cool. A lawyer who's totally against the Blue and saying, oh well, she's going in court and saying that one of them is Blue, and she's like, oh, I'm very good at figuring out who's Blue and who's not, because she is Blue, and I thought that was really cool. So yeah, the unexpected members of the Blue now having to work for this government agency against a bigger member of the Blue. So very cool. I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was a really good setup, and I'll definitely be getting issue 2. Definitely interested me enough for that. So that was number 6. Moving on to number 5. And I might get it physically, too. I think I'll get it next week physically. Alright, so next issue is Prez, issue 1. This is actually a series I was really looking forward to with the new DC titles. I thought it was really unique and original, and guess what? This book was really unique and original. You really care for the main character because she doesn't want to become president. She doesn't even know she's running for president, because in this world, people could elect people for president. You could be a teenager if you like, and she's only elected because she becomes a viral sensation on the internet, and she's just working for her father to get money because her father's sick. She's just trying to raise money for him, and they need billions of dollars. So every way she's trying to get money. So she's working at this hot dog stand doing a tutorial, and she ends up on the internet. But really, she's just trying to make money for her father throughout this whole time, and she sees that she wins Ohio for electoral votes, but there's not enough electoral votes voted for these presidents to win. So now the representatives have to figure out who's going to be president, and it seems like the CEO businessmen wants the teenager to become president. That way they could just rule the world, and for her just to be a figurehead. So I thought this was a really well done book with a lot of interesting ideas, a lot of political thought in this issue, and it was good artwork. It took me a little while to get used to, but also your main character is really interesting. They set her up to have some really interesting, morals, good morals for someone running for president, where she doesn't even know she's running for president. I want to see where the series goes. I thought it was a really good first issue, and again, really original and unique. So Prez issue 1 gets 4 stars. Now it's my number 5 pick. So moving on to number 4. And number 4 was Superman Wonder Woman issue 18. This is a really good book also. I haven't picked up Superman Wonder Woman in a while, but the Truth arc has been really surprising to me. Besides Superman, which I'm not going to be picking up, and Action Comics was a bit on the generic side, but Superman Batman was really well done. The way he was interacting with the new Batman, and also this book was really well done, because we get to see that everything's taken away from Clark, and Diana's trying to be that anchor for him, which is really obviously what a good relationship is, and we get to see that, his parents were taken away from their graves, his house was taken away, and then his friend Lana, his first girlfriend, whoever knew about his powers, made him feel comfortable, is kidnapped. And, he's trying to find out who kidnapped her. And I love that Wonder Woman wants to help and actually meet Lana as a friend, and she's not being jealous at all, and, because she was his first girlfriend. But I I want to meet Lana. It seems like she's done a lot for you in your life. So I thought that was really well done, too, and the artwork is is beautiful for the book, and I just thought it brought more of the humanity of what we've been seeing with Truth, which, you know, Clark being very confused of what to do next, and who to trust, and now he just wants to save Lana, which I thought was a really well done story. So I'm excited to read more Superman, Wonder Woman. I thought this was a really well done arc, and I've overall been enjoying Truth, so we'll see where it goes. And I'll definitely be picking up more Superman, Wonder Woman. I only took a break because there are so many tie-ins going into this book. Still, there's a lot of tie-ins going into the book, but well done issue. So I gave Superman, Wonder Woman 4 stars. And now it's number 4. So moving on to number 3. Alright, so number 3 is Thors, issue 1. You know, I was pleasantly surprised with this book, because I wasn't really expecting much. You know, I was excited to read it because you do get to see exactly who these Thor policemen are, and we've been seeing that throughout all of the Secret Wars books. But, you know, I'm not a huge Thor fan. The reason I got into Thor was because of the female Thor, and, you know, it's a newer character who's human. I'm not a big fan of the Norse god speak. But here, what I really like about this book is the structure of the book, first of all. It's very much a mystery procedural. I'm usually not a fan of procedurals, but I felt like they did it so well here. You can see Beta Ray Bill and Ultimate Thor are partners, and they find out there's this woman who's dying, and they know no clues about it until they find out that this woman is the same person, and they find out it's Jane Foster. And throughout this book, I was like really questioning. I'm like, where the hell's Jane? And then by the end, when I find out it's the same woman, I'm like, it's definitely Jane. So I guessed the ending, but I still really enjoyed the ending because it seems like this Thor is going to partner up with the Thor that we all know and love, which is Jane Foster. So I really enjoyed this book. The twists and turns were really well done. The character moments were well done. And the structure of this book was really well done. And the artwork was really well done. So I'm actually really excited to read Thors. I just thought it was a really good book. So overall, I gave Thors issue 1 4.5 stars. I was really pleasantly surprised by this book. So pick it up, even if you haven't been reading Thors. I think it's a really well done tie-in. Alright, so moving on to number 2, which is Miss Marvel, issue 16. I really love this book. It goes back to everything we love about Miss Marvel. And, you know, everything in Jersey City is being destroyed because of Secret Wars. And now Miss Marvel has to step up to the plate and save her city, and save New York at the same time. And then you see her schools trying to save the city, but still you have other drama going on. You have Kamala's ex-boyfriend who stole her brother to try to make him inhuman, so she has to find her brother. But by the end, you know, she doesn't do it alone because we get to see that her superstar comes, and that's Captain Marvel. She is finally teaming up with Captain Marvel, and just look at her eyes right there. I love that. So wonderful artwork, which it goes back to the classic art we saw with the beginning of the story arc, and of this story in general, and just really well done. I think it does really well with continuing arcs that's been going on with Miss Marvel, like her brother Mike being inhuman, which I think we all guessed. You know, her stuff with her parents. But at the same time, the reason why we love Miss Marvel is because she loves her city, and she wants to do anything to save it. And then she just fangirls over Captain Marvel teaming up with her. So just very well done issue. Very close to being my pick of the week. So yeah, Miss Marvel issue 16 gets 4.5 stars. Really well done issue. But what's number 1? Number 1 really surprised me, and that's why it got number 1, which was Grimm Fairy Tale's 10th anniversary Red Riding Hood. Now, why I liked this issue so much was the artwork was really clean, which I like. But also, I think this issue proves that Red Riding Hood can have her own ongoing, which I've been saying for a while, because I really enjoy this character. It balances her werewolf story very well with her being a psychiatrist. And I thought it was a good issue because we get to see that she outsmarts the villain, where her villain, she teams up with this guy who's a monster hunter, and she's trying to, like, kind of get in his head, and then there's just this awesome action scene when the monster hunter wants to get Red Riding Hood, because obviously he finds out that she's a monster, but by the end, someone she lives with, which is this older werewolf, which is, I haven't read that arc, I don't know where they had the arc, but ends up, like, eating the guy. So it's interesting to learn more about her as a werewolf, and again, I think it just proves that this character can totally have her own ongoing series. She has a, this family, this job of being an assassin and then fighting her inner instincts. I thought they utilized the powers really well. The artwork was really good, and I enjoyed it, and I'm a sucker for werewolf stories. So that was my pick of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week, your worst pick of the week, and everything in between. And this is Comic and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links from my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.